1901, Walt Disney was born in Chicago and raised on a farm in Marseille. His mother Flora was a teacher, and his father Elias was a farmer and businessman. Elias started many ventures but failed at each of them, forcing him to become a carpenter. When the Disney family grew to 7, the pressure to make ends meet took a toll on Elias. He and Flora had 4 sons, Herb, Ray, Roy, and Walt, and 1 daughter, Ruth. Elias became cold and even violent toward his children. It became so unbearable that Herb and Ray secretly ran away. The loss of 2 sons marked the start of a string of bad luck for the Disney family. Elias caught typhoid and then pneumonia. As he recovered, Roy took on the burden of taking care of the farm, but the work was too difficult for him, let alone any 16-year-old. So Flora urged Elias to sell the farm. He resisted but eventually caved and moved the family to Kansas City. Soon after, Walt's sister Ruth became bedridden with the measles. To keep her entertained, Walt drew a series of figures that appeared to move when the papers were flipped. It was his first attempt at animation and one of the rare moments where he could play. Unlike most 9-year-olds who spent time outdoors running and laughing, Walt had little time to play, his days passing by with drudgery. After moving to Kansas City, Elias bought a newspaper business and forced Walt to make deliveries before dawn. He refused to pay Walt for all his work, so Walt took up odd jobs, selling newspapers, delivering drugstore prescriptions, and sweeping floors. It wasn't long until Walt's teachers became concerned. They complained that he often fell asleep in class, and when he was awake, he had trouble paying attention. It didn't help that he was more interested in things outside his lessons. Walt was engrossed with drawing cartoons and reading stories about success and adventures. He also became enthralled by entertainment, which he discovered through his classmate Walt Pfeiffer. When Pfeiffer caught the mumps, Walt visited him at home since he was immune from having it in the past. The Pfeiffer family welcomed Walt and introduced him to the world of entertainment through motion pictures and vaudeville shows, which featured musical and magic acts, acrobatic and comedy routines. Afterward, Walt and Pfeiffer started going to the theaters. Walt kept it a secret from his father, who considered entertainment a waste of time. But eventually, he didn't need to. Like their older brothers Herb and Ray, Walt's 3rd brother Roy found their father's cold and violent tendencies unbearable and secretly ran away. The loss of 3 brothers forced Walt to take on more responsibilities. While he was just 10 years old, Walt had to work more and help to renovate the family home. Whenever Elias grew impatient with Walt, he struck him with whatever was in his hand. Once it was the handle of a hammer, and another time it was a wooden board. "How do you expect Walt to know those things? He's only a boy," Flora pleaded to no avail. From then on, Walt found himself caught in the family's string of bad luck. One cold evening, he was delivering newspapers for his father's business. As he crossed the street, he kicked a piece of ice and felt a sharp pain. A horseshoe nail pierced through his boot and jammed into his toe. "Help! I'm stuck!" Walt yelled. Not a single person on the street stopped to help him as he laid on the ground. It wasn't until much later that a driver parked his wagon to bring him to a doctor. "Kid, I've got nothing to give you for the pain. You'll just have to hang on," the doctor warned before removing the nail with pliers. It took 2 whole weeks for Walt to recover from his injury. Being free from work on bed rest for so long encouraged the 14-year-old to think about his future. He doubted that he could obtain a prestigious job like a doctor or lawyer or even attend college. No one in his family had ever been able to afford the luxury. Walt decided to think about what he was most passionate about. It was clear that it was drawing. It had always been his solace during difficult times. He enjoyed how his cartoons brought joy and laughter to those around him. At that moment, Walt decided to become a cartoonist. Unbeknownst to him, pursuing his passion would lead to building one of the biggest companies in the world. After 7 years in Kansas City, the Disney family moved back to Chicago. Elias's newspaper business had failed to grow, so he used all his savings and some of Walt's money to invest in a jelly factory. Walt was pressured into working there as a handyman and night guard to contribute to the family income. If he didn't, Elias wouldn't allow him to take art classes outside of school. Walt was paid very little at the factory, so after a while he decided to quit to earn more money as a gatesman, mail sorter, and delivery boy. When the First World War entered its 4th year, Walt quit all of his jobs since he was eager to join the He noticed that there was an opening for a copy boy and asked if he could apply. The HR employee insisted Walt find a job in transportation instead since he previously worked as an ambulance driver. Afterward, Walt decided to try his luck at the Kansas City Journal. Once again, he was told there were no openings for a cartoonist. When Walt confided in Roy about his struggles, Roy urged him to do something more practical. Walt refused to give up. Later, Roy complained to his colleague about Walt's stubbornness. His colleague suggested that Walt apply to an art studio that was looking for an apprentice. Roy immediately told Walt, who rushed over to the studio to apply. The owners were impressed with his eagerness and offered him the job. At the studio, Walt met a man named Ub Iwerks. Like Walt, Ub was a high school dropout and hopped